the Church of Scientology is so afraid of.
This is SPTV.
Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us on this live today. How's everyone doing? How in the literal hell are y'all doing, guys? Hi, Amy. Hi, Kay. Hi, Valenis. It's good to see you all for another very important episode that we're doing today, you guys, where we are really confronting the hypocrisy and the enabling from the literal Los Angeles Police Department, because, we can't just be making points and not be making our points with receipts, right, guys? We can't just be saying the LAPD is compromised without showing how in the literal hell is the LAPD actually compromised. And we really have to start asking tougher questions. And hopefully with what we're doing here today, you guys, we will inspire the corporate media to find a spine for themselves and see if they can, sharpen their critical thinking skills. So here's our statement for today. In a world where hypocrisy seems to know no bounds, we, the kids who grew up in Scientology, are left astounded by the display of profound inconsistency and sheer displays of favoritism on full display by the LAPD top senior leadership. Scientologist Marisol Nichols, who directly, indirectly, for the last 3+ decades, has fully endorsed and funded the trafficking of kids like us within the secretive walls of Scientology hotels, has the audacity to sit down for an interview with the LAPD's Lieutenant Mark Evans, proudly discussing their extensive history and friendship as though they are the best of friends and very, very chummy with each other. We can't help but wonder, how is this acceptable or appropriate? How can Marisol Nichols, who has been intimately affiliated with an organization that specializes in child abuse and exploitation at an industrial scale, engage in a seemingly friendly conversation with law enforcement about combating trafficking? Lieutenant Mark Evans, the officer in charge of human trafficking, vice, and counterterrorism for the Los Angeles Police Department, boasts about his 2 decades plus career and over 4,000 investigations under his belt. However, the stark absence of any investigation into the trafficking of kids, including foreign and domestic, into Scientology hotels, which is an organization in which Marisol Nichols is intimately financially associated, raising glaring questions that apparently only us in this live here today, guys, seem to be asking. Just us girls. Additionally, Lieutenant Evans has authored a book called Selling the Daughters of America, delving into the skills of traffickers and the harrowing world of their victims. Yet this book somehow overlooks the skills of the traffickers involved in any of the Scientology operations. Isn't that great, you guys? A whole book that has not a shred of information about traffickers in luxury hotels. Not covered in that book by Mr. Evans. We, the kids that grew up in Scientology, find it deeply troubling that such discussions and affiliations take place without any acknowledgement of the real issues at hand. As survivors of an environment rife with manipulation, abuse, and exploitation, we believe it is crucial to shine a light on the stark contrast between words and actions. We call for accountability, transparency, and genuine commitment to combating trafficking, even when it hits uncomfortably close to home. It is time for a deeper examination of these connections and a thorough investigation into all the allegations surrounding Scientology. In unity and defiance, kids of Scientology, and all of y'all who are joining us for this important review of what is literally on the public record being made available by the Los Angeles Police Department top brass. You guys, Mr. Evans is a lieutenant commander and not a lieutenant commander like Debbie Cook. Mr. Evans did have to actually have some real world qualifications to call himself that, not like Debbie Cook, who just wore a clown uniform and just started role playing that she was a lieutenant commander. But yet even the real world lieutenant commanders, guys, seem to be somewhat phony from what we're seeing here in this interview. So let's really dig into the details and figure out what in the literal hell is going on. Now, I've also fast forwarded this interview to, I believe we're going to start at, just a little bit in to minute like 7 or 8, because we already did start reviewing this video. So I didn't post the link in the description down below, but I will by the end of this video, or you guys can check it out if you want to just listen to the beginning. But let's just continue reacting, because they really do go on and on and on. And there's a lot of gold nuggets that they leave all behind, a trail of questions, admissions, and inconsistencies that I'm sure somebody in California's law enforcement would literally be like maybe some real inspector general of police activities in California can really start stamping out the corruption. Or what is it called, guys? The ones that really investigate when the cops are corrupt. What is it called, those people? I literally just forgot, but they have a name. Internal affairs or something like that. I don't know, something like that. But let's just take a look, guys.
A certain principle, and we had to let the case go because they didn't talk in the right way we needed them to talk when they're working undercover, and it just compromised the case a little bit. So we dropped the charges were not filed, and it was a learning lesson for some of my newer people.
Right. So can you talk about this undercover thing? Because we didn't even get into that yet. So tell me about like some of the things that you would do back then undercover to get to these cases, to find these people.
So I have to be careful how I explain that, because I can't tip off people how we do the work we do.
Fair.
I'll just tell you this.
Yeah.
Right now, we do sting operations against human traffickers. And
Yeah.
I have a group of undercover people who are phenomenal workers, and they go, and we have techniques that we utilize to go after these traffickers.
Right.
And so I mentioned our filing rate was around 96%, and our conviction rate of those 96 was 100%.
Wow.
So we ratcheted up the way we worked. We took on new methodology. We started using, different technology where we could record things and stuff like that. I apologize. I got to be vague because I can't tip
I understand.
the crooks how to defeat us.
Sure. Okay. So I want to.
We can teach crooks how to defeat us, guys. So are we literally living in like the Twilight Zone? I mean, how is the LA Police Department Lieutenant Commander Mark Evans telling Marisol Nichols, Miss Nichols, the crook that she is? I mean, if y'all didn't catch our live that we did the other day with Katrina Reyes, where she was literally as a 11-year-old kid from Siberia put to task by Debbie Cook to be Marisol's slave and really find out if Marisol needed to eat anything, if Marisol needed to get very sessionable, because Marisol Nichols is okay with her using kids. She's okay with that. But she's just, plays the role that she really cares about kid issues. So much so that she's got this veteran investigator of the police that has, 2 decades plus experience. And here's Mr. Evans telling it how he doesn't want to tip off the corrupt people. So he doesn't want to tip off the corrupt people, but he wants to talk to Marisol Nichols about stuff. And I mean, imagine, guys, this is what they're comfortable sharing in the public. Really playing the role of like, oh no, I can't really tell you that. I'll tell you that after the podcast, but we don't really want to speak like that because then the bad guys are going to find out how we work and we're not going to be able to help anybody anymore. Isn't that interesting? So let's see if we can find our place here again because I just screwed it up.
Different technology where we could record things and stuff like that. I apologize. I got to be vague because I can't tip the crooks how to defeat us.
Sure.
But we made it so that instead of telling a story for the jury or for the DA to consider filing this case, we just simply said, watch this. And that really empowered our cases. And that's why the filing rate skyrocketed. And that's why the conviction rate skyrocketed too, because most of those, the people are just copping out because they're like, I can't fight this. It's hands down.
There's too much evidence. They know that they can't fight it in court. They're going to get caught. That's it.
Exactly. So, so you present a powerful.
Yeah, Marisol, that is what happens. There's too much evidence. Oops. There's too much evidence, Marisol. That's the problem. There's just, you cannot fight it in court. And isn't that interesting that Ms. Nichols says, oh yeah, they don't want to fight it in court. They're not going to lose. Who else is in the business of gathering evidence such as this, Marisol? What happens every single time y'all take it upon yourselves to write a sec check question, a Scientology sec check interrogation question? Have you ever committed a felony for which you have not been arrested, including but not limited to? Have you ever done something that is sexually perverted to right? So when that little answer is given and you have all the video recording, like, and you're not offering up that information to Lieutenant Evans, why, Marisol? Why not go, well, excuse me, Mr. Evans, at our hotel, we ask all manner of questions, and we really do find out if someone has ever committed a felony against for which they haven't been arrested, and then we make them tell us, and then we video record it, and then we transcribe it, and then we write it, and then we send it to the case supervisor, and then we send it to the senior case supervisor, and then we send it to the captain of our hotel, and then we tell the president about it as well, you know, really fill her in on, you know, the out ethics that are coming out. So where are those tapes being given and shared with Lieutenant Evans here, who really wants to thump out, you know, felonies, self-admitted felonies perpetrated on kids? Because that would be very interesting for you to explain really quickly to your bestie, Marisol. You should give him a call and be like, oh yeah, I know. Yeah. Yes, Lieutenant Evans. I mean, yes, Mark, since y'all are so buddy, you know, chummy. Yes, Mark, we take those video recordings when they tell us if they've ever committed a crime against a child for which they have not been arrested. And yeah, I mean, I never thought about, you know, giving you that information because, you know, we were monetizing on that. I mean, we were floating it. We were really applying our technology that we learned inside a 2-week course that my hotel teaches. And that's why it doesn't count, you guys. Do you see how clever this is all becoming? They're just so clever, right? As long as you study a 2-week course inside a hotel, you can circumvent the law. And then you can call out the law enforcement and have them eating out of your palm of your hands. Miss Nichols is being utilized as a honeypot. She's an OSA honey pot planted deep in the heart of the LAPD. As you can see from Miss Nichols' body language, she's swishing her hair. She's comfortable. Mark and her go way back. I mean, she gets into that at the beginning of this interview, you guys. So if you do want to check that out, that's basically in a nutshell all they talk about. Oh yeah, remember back in the day where I didn't have a job for 2 years and I was just hopping from cop car to another cop car, you know, rubbing elbows and fraternizing with all manner of LAPD cops. And we really got to know each other for 2 years because I was really like, you know, doing some research for a role. So that's the background of this stuff. Okay, you guys. And then now they're going to talk about vertical prosecution. And vertical prosecution is a system and means that no prosecutor will usually stay with in the case from start to finish, better serving the victims, witnesses, and law enforcement officials involved in the prosecution of the crime. So that's what a vertical prosecution is, you guys.
The trial and so on. So they stick with it from point A all the way to the finish line.
Okay.
Where in other cases, you have a person who files it, they hand it off to another DA, that DA handles it, and it's going to go to, you know, maybe a prelim, or it's going to go to an actual jury trial, and then maybe another person handles it.
Prelim is preliminary
hearing.
Okay, good. Yep.
And so now the DAs, these are specialists who are assigned to handle human trafficking cases.
That's
And
amazing.
we start with them and we finish with them. And that has really made the prosecutions very successful and powerful. They understand the issues and they understand the work we do. So now things have evolved where we don't have to go and say, hey, please, this is a good case. Come on, just listen to me. We use the new technology that we have,
which we're going to get into.
To the extent we can, we'll get into.
Did you see how uncomfortable Miss Nichols looks just about now? Do you see her? Her entire body language just changed, you guys. We're going to get into, look at her little forced smile that you see her have right now. I mean, if that smile doesn't say a lot, literally, I don't know. Look at her.
Yes.
Okay.
And we present the cases, they see it and like, wow, this is great. And they file. And so our filing rate has significantly skyrocketed.
Right.
Of that. And so I think that's great.
I think it's phenomenal. That's phenomenal. So I didn't realize.
she thinks is phenomenal, you guys. She's just so happy that traffickers that are not inside her hotel are seeing legal consequences. Because Ms. Nichols is all about seeing consequences on others. Get it? The malignant narcissist that Marisol Nichols pays to be. Remember, guys, like all of these L. Ron Hubbard proteges pay to become this, what you see on screen right now. They're paying, they're putting their money where their literal mouth is. So don't think that Marisol Nichols, that's been part of this organization for 3+ decades, doesn't have a shred of a clue, because she plays dumb, as you can see here, very well, right? Like, oh yeah, I mean, it's great that other traffickers are seeing consequences, and I wouldn't know what in the hell I'm talking about, because what we do, we're not calling that. And I mean, again, you guys, with what face can these points be made in this year 2023? With Marisol Nichols, who's not some person locked up in a hotel with no access to Google. Let's not forget the Hollywood Reporter is pitching this woman as the vigilante of Hollywood. So apparently Ms. Nichols knows everything about human trafficking, and not any shred of law that Ms. Nichols has ever read has gone trigger. Wait, it says here that fraud and coercion. Do we defraud and coerce the kids that we hire inside our hotels, especially like the foreign minors that don't speak a shred of English, like we discussed with Katrina, and we're having a lot of foreign minors reaching out to us right now, you guys from other countries that want to speak to you and tell you their story. Because turns out that, being a foreign minor that didn't understand a shred of the language is another layer of this disgusting, sadistic fraud. Because can you imagine these people in Marisol Nichols' hotel would have minors that don't speak the language sign binding contracts? Minors that had not even a clue what English language was, you guys. And since they're very, very pressed about really having every contract signed in there, don't think that they went, well, you don't have to sign it because you don't speak English. So we'll wait until you learn, and then we'll sign it, and then you really will be official. They would just be like, sign. Who cares? Just sign. You want to be here. This is a hotel. This is amazing. You're about to help us save the world inside a hotel. That's where these foreign minors were told. Foreign minors that were recruited to work at hotels with Miss Nichols is lauded as some big whatever in the hell she calls herself inside those hotels, you guys.
Guys, and probably like most people, like when I first started going into this, right? How much of the thing hangs on the DA? Like how much? Like you think us lay people, right? When we look at it, we're like, why don't the police just go get him? Why doesn't the police just put him in jail? And like you guys, it's all on your shoulders. No one goes, why doesn't the DA prosecute? It's not the first thing that they think about.
What in the literal hell is Marisol Nichols talking about, you guys? This is really hurting our brain. Like, what type of point are you making, Marisol? You're making not any sense at all, right? Of course, the DA has to prosecute. Of course, a case has to be compiled in order for justice to be served. Of course, cops cannot just decide willy-nilly whatever in the hell they want. It's called checks and balances, Marisol. Things that are not in place in your hotel, for example, because in your hotel, The police, aka the people that complete a 2-week course inside that hotel, don't have to check up with nobody to indict anyone inside your hotels. They can just be like, we're going to write a committee of evidence on you because you are a disgusting, degraded being. Let me type it up. You see? So there are no checks and balances, and everything is a free-for-all in your hotels, Marisol. Perhaps that's why it's so shocking for you that, you know, in the legal world, in the real legal world, never mind that is flawed AF, but, you know, they still have to, you know, push papers around before actually nabbing people for committing crimes. So I don't know what in the hell Ms. Nichols is doing here, you guys, telling us about how she's so shocked that the DA has to get a case in order to get any actual prosecution to take place. Like, it just makes no sense at all.
They go after you guys. So the fact that like it takes two, and I don't think people actually know that. Like, you can make an arrest for anyone for anything, but if the other side doesn't say yes, we'll prosecute, there's no case, there's no thing, and it goes away. So that's really impressive, and I just want to make sure that people listening actually understand that.
Yeah, could I add one thing?
Yeah, Marisol Nichols, even those of us who grew up in a cult from hell actually do understand that. So thank you for making a point that could not be more waste of oxygen. It wasn't just literally you sucking up oxygen to make this about yourself, given that you don't care about any trafficking of kids.
To that, because I think
you can have whatever you want.
I think it's just important is now with the vertical prosecution, and we start with an attorney and we continue through the whole process with the same attorney.
Yeah.
They also give us feedback like, okay, we're not going to file the case yet. Go back out and do some more follow-up and get this evidence. See if we can get this. And so we come back and we make our case stronger because of their input.
That's great.
And if the evidence is there, the evidence is there. Of course, we're never going to manufacture evidence, but they give us things that we can focus on that maybe we overlooked. And they
see, guys, we were just so grateful that the cops are never going to manufacture evidence and that they'll go and grab evidence and fortify their case. So Miss Nichols and all her buddies at the hotel are so busy doing the Lord's work, their Lord L. Ron Hubbard's work. And guess what their Lord L. Ron Hubbard's work consists of, you guys? It consists of two things, right? Number one, and then number two. Number one, recording. So they really do have it on video. Let's really get you in session. Let's really record you. Let's really ask you about that felony you committed that you really do need to tell us about. And then at the same time as the person is self-incriminating, they're writing it. Also, when did you do it with your daughter? Where did you do it with your daughter? How many times did you do it with your daughter? Okay, let's go to the last time you ever did this with your daughter. Now tell us exactly how it began. Tell us exactly how it continued. Tell us exactly how it transpired. Tell us exactly what happened afterwards. Tell us exactly what happened right before that. Tell us exactly what happened while you were doing it. Tell us exactly where you put every finger of yours. Tell us exactly. We need to know. We need to know everything there is to be known about that felony, Class A felony, that a 2-week course inside a hotel is telling me all of a sudden floats when you incriminate everything about yourself. So apparently, Lieutenant Mark Evans, that really does build cases for a living, criminal cases to do with trafficking, has never heard of in his entire life that the technology that an admitted, committed, fully indicted felon wrote for these brainiacs like Ms. Nichols, including, but was not limited to, put it all down, write it all down, incriminate yourselves, because, you know, we really are doing something very religious as we incriminate ourselves. The more we become complicit, the more we become colluded, the more you fund and have your collusion all over the record, then everything is going to be okay. In what world are people that are willingly implicating themselves on this level of premeditated, full knowing every last shred of detail, is something that is, for lack of a better word, guys, kosher. How in the world is data mining felonies out of hotel patrons that are paying upwards of $500 per hour to get interrogated, to get asked those questions, to implicate themselves? And don't forget, you guys, it's not like these people that are paying for this service at these hotels didn't know, had not shred of clue. All of a sudden, the plot thickened and people started asking them all manner of questions. No, they knew. It was pitched to them by L. Ron Hubbard in the books they were reading, in the materials, in the memos. It was all over the place. So it's right here. You're going to be asked this question. You're going to be asked this. You're going to be checked on that. You're going to be asked that. So they're all 100% okay with everything. And we couldn't be more confused how that could be the case.
Have us go out and we'll obtain new evidence if it's available. And then we'll come back and represent the case and like, all right, let's do this. And it just made it that much more solid.
That's great.
So I love when human traffickers are convicted and sent to prison. I don't know what it is about it, but I like that, because I think that these people are, I think they're monsters in society. They victimize the most vulnerable people. They focus on women and children, and there's male victims as well.
I know.
And it makes me.
Oh, Marisol Nichols knows, guys. Did you catch her little snickering? Ha 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 ha. Aren't I fooling you? Ha 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 ha. You really love when people are convicted and you see how uncomfortable she gets. She's like, yeah, me too. I love when people get convicted of crimes. I really, really do love it. Just don't try and convict me, because then I'm not going to be so much of that he, ha, ha, ha.
Makes me sick, to be honest, to see the evil that these people commit. I would say most of the human traffickers that I've dealt with, and I've dealt with over 4,000, I just stopped counting at 4,000.
That number's astonishing, by the way.
Yeah. And I've noticed
4,001 Lieutenant Mark Evans. Literally 4,001. Since you're sitting right across from a woman that is all about this, except that, you know, apparently your critical thinking skills are paralyzed. Paralyzed. Literally nowhere to be literally found. Where are your critical thinking skills, Mr. Evan? Where did you leave them? I mean, y'all, maybe we should start a GoFundMe page so we can really, like, you know, get some money together to see if we can buy critical thinking skills for the LAPD. Because you know what? There's a shortage of critical thinking skills. And, you know, we really should actually take it up on ourselves to figure it out, because, you know, maybe with a GoFundMe page, the LAPD can finally get the funding it needs to actually do its job. Right, guys? I think that money is the answer.
that many human traffickers are sociopaths.
Mm.
They don't care about punching you in the face.
Right.
They don't care about, victimizing you and hurting you, raping you, sexual assaults. They don't care about that.
Right.
And, most people, they were raised, you don't want to hurt other people. You don't want to hurt women and children, but that's not how human traffickers are.
Sorry, Mr. Evans. Sorry. You don't have to be shred. You don't have to be raised to be a human to be a human. It's called being a human. Humans are supposed to have a level of intellect and compassion that should literally come installed. It's called common sense. So it's not that people are being taught this to be a good person and then all of a sudden, oh yeah, I'm going to be a great person because I was taught that as a kid. These people were teaching us to be sadistic dominatrix inside of their hotels, starting at age 12 for me. So what was I taught? I mean, perhaps the LA Police Department really wants to tell us what in the hell we were being taught inside those hotels, starting at age 12. Because your point could not be more ridiculous. If you weren't the lieutenant commander of the Human Trafficking Division and counterterrorism and vice and whatever else you're commanding, Mr. Evans, whatever in the hell else you seem to be commanding in that police department of yours.
Unfortunately.
It's always astonishing to me that how do you as a person see someone else in so much pain and in so much grief or so much terror and not have that instinct to help and instead have an instinct to hurt? Just sidestepping here real quick, but I see these really, really cool bars on your uniform there. What are those?
These are hash marks. And
Oh God, you guys, okay. Somebody help me, please. Literally, somebody help me. Somebody help me. I need rose water. That's what I need right now. That's what we need, you guys. Oh my God, that's so good. Yep. Why is Marisol Nichols flirting with the lieutenant commander of the Human Trafficking Division? Let me really sidestep here. What are those bars that you got there? You see how she goes into that, nauseating seductress that she plays right here for all of us, you guys. And look at Lieutenant. Look at him. He's like, oh yeah, let me really tell you about these bars that are in my uniform. This is so infantile. This is so infantile. Seriously, like, what is this?
each hash mark represents 5 years. So 5, 10, 15, 20, 25. I'm at 28, so I don't earn the next one until I had 30 years. So I'm still working towards that one.
I'm curious to hear your viewpoint, because it's funny, right? Because I've played cops before. You and I have talked. Right? Yeah. Like when I got Spiral and I called you up and I was like, "Hey, I'm a chief." I
want credit for amending that. What is it? What do you write? The script.
The script. Oh my God. Okay, we're just gonna sidetrack.
Another sidetrack. Another admission of fraternization. What is it between Hollywood, Scientology, and the LAPD, you guys? What in the hell is it? Could it be that, who else pays the LAPD all manner of exorbitant overtime? Can you really come police us? Can you really come check our set? Can you really make sure nobody breaks in while we're filming this movie? And then we wonder why there's just rampant criminality that everybody literally closes their eyes off when it's got to do with Hollywood stuff, right? Harvey Weinstein didn't see any consequences for himself until when? So the LAPD, Hollywood, and Scientology are the trifecta. 3 They're the little triangle. They're the three amigos, you guys. That's what you have there. LAPD, Hollywood, and Scientology are the literal three amigos. Never mind that this one is supposed to be policing these two, right? The top one is supposed to be policing these ones here. But how is this one going to police these if these are paying to the one over here? Right? Oh yeah, here's your check, LAPD, because we really need your services over here. Really come secure our premises. We don't want to be attacked, you know, because we are in LA, a very crazy city where all kinds of things can go wrong. But we have the LAPD protecting our studio. We have the LAPD protecting our set. We have the LAPD on the payroll. Here you go. Here's another one. Here's much more. Here's much more. There you go.
Track for a second. So when I got, so Mark and I have known each other for a while now, and we always sort of go back and forth on when is Mark going to make chief? When is he going to make chief? Right. So then I get Spiral, and the role on Spiral is chief of police. So I called up Mark when I got that, and I was like, I made chief before you.
I cried a little bit, to be honest, but it's
I mean, you guys. Marisol Nichols laughs, giggles, and cackles as she tells us that she called her little bestie. Oh, hey, Mark, how are you? Yeah, I just made police chief in a movie. In a movie that didn't require you to work, Marisol, in a movie where everything was going to be make-believe. So, yeah, congratulations to you for getting an infantile role in a movie that doesn't mean anything. And your little bestie here and you are just cackling and giggling. Isn't it interesting, you guys, that Marisol Nichols calls the LAPD when she gets the role that apparently Mark Evans was vying for? He really wanted to be the police chief. But, you know, Marisol Nichols did one-up him by getting the role in a make-believe film, because that's all it takes.
okay. It's okay. The odds of me making chief are really slim. So I'm glad you made it.
You're my chief.
Made it.
Always. But just so a little bit of Hollywood trivia, but I did, you know, the writer Josh Stolberg was so cool about that I could change the script. And you and I talked, and based on everything that I know about you and what you do, and I would call you up and be like, is there any chance that like the chief of police would walk down into a basement when there's a serial killer out to kill all the policemen and leave her gun on her desk? Like things like.
Isn't that interesting, you guys, that we really do now have it for ourselves in the receipts, full admissions from Marisol, making all manner of phone calls. Who else gets this level of access to cops, you guys? Who else has a lieutenant commander on speed dial? I mean, she even goes like this with her little phone. Remember when I was calling you for every ridiculous question I had? I mean, in what world would you call a police chief to be like, would the police chief really go into a basement with a serial killer? What kind of bozo the clown questions are these, guys? Honestly. I mean, even if you say, okay, Serge, yeah, some actors can really, you know, want to do right by their role and call the police and really get some background, but then never mind that the background as, you know, Ms. Nichols says to us right here is, will the police chief ever go inside a basement with a serial killer? Would that ever happen?
That, and you really helped me a lot, and we really did. We tweaked the script.
Oh, good.
That was
One day I'll be
fantastic.
a writer. Who knows?
Yeah, I think you will.
So he wants to be a writer, guys. I guess he got lieutenant commander of the human trafficking division because I guess writer was not in the cards for Mark Evans. So who's playing the part of what? Because right about now, I think it's becoming very clear that all we get is these clowns that play parts, clowns that cosplay, actually don't do a shred of enforcement of any laws because they're too busy revising scripts of D-list actresses such as Miss Nichols, who has been all over Hollywood, you guys. So credit when credit is due for this woman. She's deeply entrenched in Hollywood, buddies and friends with all manner of people. Because she's been around the block. This woman has been around the literal block.
Well, okay, so back to what we're talking about here. And I'm really curious about this because it's interesting, right? So you've been doing this a long time, and we get comments from listeners that will listen to this podcast saying that they had no idea how bad the situation really is, right?
Yeah.
Why do you think this is still a surprise to so many?
My take on that is that this is a surprise to so many people because largely humans just live insulated lives. They just roam around. They do the same thing. They wake up in the morning, they get dressed, they're going to go to work, they're going to stop and get their coffee or whatever they do. They go to work, they eat lunch, talk to the same friends, and they go home. They get on their, social media and they watch their favorite show and go to sleep. That's probably the average person's life. So unless you're in this realm and
well, thank you, Lieutenant Evans, for wanting to very reductively define what we all do every day, you guys. Apparently we're nothing but just pathetic drones, according to the LAPD. We just are so insulated and so pathetic that all we do is go to work, grab a coffee, go back, watch a movie. Go to work, grab coffee, come back, watch a movie. Apparently that's all we're doing, all of us, all the time. And that's why none of us can seem to understand a shred of a thing. Maybe, Marisol, you should go look in the mirror, because maybe why people are not getting what trafficking is because influencers such as yourself over sensationalize the parts of this crime so that you can control public perception about how this crime is perpetrated at scale. And then all of a sudden, people that are literally filled with so much misinformation don't have the bandwidth to understand if people are just BSing their way out of literal paperbacks. So I don't think that all of you guys are drones that don't have a shred of a clue what in the hell's going on in the world. And you just go, go grab a coffee, go to work, go watch a movie, go grab a coffee in a very insulated way. As if we're not sophisticated, guys, as if we're just drones.
you're doing what I'm doing every day,
Right.
you don't necessarily see all of the stuff that's going on. So my kids, so I have 4 kids, and my wife and I figured out what was causing that. We stopped all that. And
wait. You can't roll over that. You and Rachel figured out what was causing the 4 kids.
Oh my God. See, guys, Miss Nichols is besties with Rachel. You and Rachel. What? Like, in what world are people just on a first name basis with lieutenant commanders and Miss Nichols, in order to make herself important here, you and Rachel, so you know the wife's name, Marisol? That's how chummy you are with the family? Interesting. Because we would have never, ever known that if you wouldn't have run your mouth, to be honest. We would still think that maybe it was just you and Lieutenant Mark Evans doing some side script jobs on the side. But apparently the chummy relationship goes way deeper than that, guys. Apparently it does.
Yeah. We stumble. We're slow learners.
Okay, go ahead.
But we raise our kids to be aware of things. And so sometimes, even though we're involved in police work, we teach our kids about what to look for and things to be aware of around the surroundings and so on. But sometimes they just don't believe what we're telling them because they have not seen it in their lives. They live in a nicer, safer neighborhood than maybe where human trafficking is prevalent. They have not had personal friends who have been victims of human trafficking. Well,
so here you go with Lieutenant Mark Evans that knows so well how trafficking takes place, you guys. But why is he pitching trafficking only happening in shady neighborhoods? Do you see how the elites constantly pitch incorrectly how the crime takes place? Never mind that, Celebrity Center is not in the middle of a shady neighborhood, you guys. Celebrity Center was literally a mile and a half away from Brad Pitt's home. For example, Brad and Angelina had a home right by there, by Celebrity Center, and Danny Masterson, another mansion, and all manner of millionaires surround Celebrity Center. Tons of money, all manner of millionaires from Hollywood that make the big bucks also live in that neighborhood where trafficking takes place. But apparently you have to really be in a very shady, seedy neighborhood for anything bad to happen. Because the criminal acts cannot be committed by people with money. So the two-tier justice system that we have in this country, pitching that the trafficking crime that happens all over every last neighborhood you can possibly find in America. Palm Beach, the most expensive neighborhood zip code in almost the whole entire literal country, where Jeffrey and Ghislaine, that were not in a shady part of nothing, that were in the best of the best, as if the traffickers wouldn't go, oh, you know where we're really gonna get caught, you guys? If we go to a shitty motel. But you know where we won't get caught? It would just, go to the Manor Hotel, or let's just, take a trip to the Four Seasons, or, let's just go to a 5-star resort, because no one would ever commit a criminal act in a 5-star resort. That's for the people down there in the ghetto. They're the ones that they're the criminal ones. They're the ones that always do everything wrong. They're the ones that are literally the reason that, we have horrible things happen in this country, because the rich people don't. The rich people are very good. The rich people are always right. The rich people have all the right solutions and best intentions in the world. Marisol Nichols, allegedly worth $3 million herself, a whopping $3 million. And how much of money does Marisol Nichols take for herself from the 501(c) that she opened? Marisol Nichols for a slavery-free world. Wouldn't it be interesting to understand how all of that money is flowing, you guys, because Marisol's bestie that she interviews a ton, Tim Ballard, you know, was caught literally with a whole diagram that he wrote for himself where, you know, he was showing how the trafficking stuff was basically used as propaganda to build his brand, and all this money was being just channeled in this elaborate scheme. So I'm sure that Miss Nichols never heard of anything like that, and she could not have any clue what Tim Ballard was doing. Because, you know, apparently all it takes in this country is to have a ton of money, and then the critical thinking skills of the police immediately are frozen in time, unavailable to come to the phone right now.
I have 4,000 stories plus that I could tell them this is real. And LAPD pays me, I feel, a decent wage to combat this issue every single day. And I have undercover people who are assigned to do the same thing. So you don't commit those types of resources to a problem unless there's legitimately a problem.
Right.
Well, shout out to you, LAPD, that really is paying Lieutenant Mark Evans to, you know, combat the problem while at the same time, you know, offering consulting services for this Hollywood woman that really needed to check with him all the time, all manner of ridiculous questions that she's already on the public record admitting. So it really must not suck to be you, Lieutenant Mark Evans, that does get paid a ton of money to not find the problem when you are best friends with the people that are part of the problem. Because I think that's what the theme that we're seeing here repeat itself ad nauseum, you guys, is actually coming to be.
Right.
And so a lot of people, they're just not close enough to the issue to know what's truly happening in their neighborhoods and their cities and communities and so on.
That's fair.
This problem is happening all over the United States.
Right. You know, I don't think everyone understands, but like these 4 kids have a lieutenant in the LAPD for a father and a homicide detective in the LAPD for a mother.
Yeah.
So there's no way they're not getting educated.
Yeah.
There's no way.
You know how kids are though. It's just, do they listen?
Like, yeah, ma.
But we tell them, and I don't want to be a father who's like, hey, I wish I would have told my daughters that.
I know.
I'll tell them and they'll be mad at me. And I'd much rather that happen than them be victimized because I didn't teach them.
Right.
So
I understand.
It's just the way it is.
Same.
So imagine our parents, Lieutenant, that didn't teach us a shred of thing. Imagine all the Scientology parents who told us that, you know, law enforcement is where you literally never want to end up. Because the police could not be more disgusting, could not be more corrupt, could not be any more stupid. Because if you tell them anything that's going on in the hotels and you get anyone in the hotels in trouble, you might stop clearing the planet. And if that just went over your head, Lieutenant Mark Evans, call up Marisol and ask her what clearing the planet is. Because as kids in adult bodies that we're not understanding that pitch today. We understood it when we were kids, or we thought we understood it. Oh yeah, we are going to clear the planet thanks to L. Ron Hubbard. It makes a lot of sense. Our parents cannot stop pitching that like drones at us ad nauseum, even though we didn't understand what in the hell they were talking about. But trust us, none of our parents told us, really watch out for crime, you guys, because crime is everywhere. They told us, if there's criminal acts perpetrated against you inside the hotels, go tell your auditor. Tell your auditor, they will float your needle. And all of a sudden, once the needle floats, the Class A felony that was perpetrated on you will blow and float, and all manner of other ridiculous clown phrases that were used to gaslight us as kids. So we really did believe that pitch, that y'all at the police were so corrupt. Never mind that on the flip side of this, with you having this really great conversation with Ms. Nichols, we are seeing that maybe there were onto something. Maybe the police is also really corrupt and can't do anything to stop a problem that they are actively being paid to not solve.
Okay, so recently on this podcast, we explored how predators use social media and technology and apps and games to exploit women and children. Can you walk us through how sort of organized crime does this same thing and uses like technology? How sophisticated are they and how do they do this?
So when you say organized crime, I mean, I'm thinking mafia, I'm thinking...
Well, I'm thinking more like the gangs and stuff like that, including individual traffickers. But I believe you and I have talked before that in LA, you see a lot of that. Why don't you elaborate on that?
Okay, so...
Yeah, elaborate on the organized crime that you are part of, Ms. Nichols. Maybe you want to elaborate on that part. Since your questions seem to be very self-serving, since your questions are, tell me I know I'm implicated without telling me I know I am implicated. Marisol Nichols, for a slavery-free world, you guys, that you would think Marisol Nichols would have studied the laws involving human trafficking. You would think she knows what in the hell she's talking about. The mafia. The mafia. I mean, it's hard, you guys. It's hard to see this much stupidity and not react. I'm sorry I'm having to stop this every 2 seconds, but it's just like, I couldn't even get through this whole interview alone. So we're all reacting in real time here because it's hard to digest so much denseness and stupidity, to be honest.
So I'll just say this is just the average type of scenario.
Okay.
You have a social media platform. You are on, pick one. I don't want to
let's do Facebook.
Okay, you're on Facebook.
Facebook.
And someone, I think on Facebook, someone can do a thumbs up. They like something. So they can just like a picture. That's just very simple. And then all of a sudden, you post another thing and this other like follower, like a new friend, you don't really know them, but they click another like, and they might just do this a couple times. And then they'll send you a message like, wow, you're so beautiful. You should consider modeling or something like that. And the goal of the trafficker is to get embedded, so to speak, or get access to this person that they want to victimize. And then once they gain their trust that, hey, this person's not a threat, now they can get the person, let's just say, wow, you're so beautiful. I'm just in love with you. I want to take you on a date or whatever. And oftentimes they'll pose as a boyfriend and they'll even escalate to a fiance. It's all a fraud. It's not real. But the person who's the potential victim, a lot of them have something they're clamoring for in life as well. People want to be loved. They want security, stability, things like that. Mm-hmm. Financial stability, help with a single child. Those are very common things that traffickers could exploit. And so,
it's a really common theme inside of those hotels, Lieutenant Mark Evans, since you are actually ripping away the words out of our mouths. The theme is, we were told, wow, you're so special, Serge. You're such a great interrogator. Aren't you the most special kid we've ever seen on this planet? Aren't you so smart? Aren't you so intelligent? Aren't you the one that we really need to tap to teach all of the adults to interrogate, just like you're doing, just like you're showing us it can be done? And you know what was a fraud too, Mark Evans? That pitch that was repeated to me ad nauseum, repeated to Natalie Galbiati ad nauseum, repeated to Iride Pallavicini ad nauseum, repeated to Liliana Flores ad nauseum, repeated to Emanuela Sanz ad nauseum, repeated to Angelica Velasco ad nauseum, repeated to Anderly ad nauseum. All the women I just mentioned were minors trained to become interrogators. Young girls. Remember stealing the daughters of America? Well, what do you think was mostly tapped to do the interrogations? Either hot boys or hot girls. You couldn't find an ugly auditor in any HCC of Scientology because they would be washing dishes. If they were ugly, if they were not perfect, if they were out PR, is what they were told. Either you get to a size 2 or you go wash dishes because we can't stand people seeing how disgusting you are. So just a little FYI for you, Mark.
Once they gain that trust and they say like, hey, let's go to Vegas and we'll go have a good time. And they go and they treat in this case, let's say a girl and her small child, 2 years old, they treat them great and everything's great. And they come back home and there's no problems.
So these guys are patient.
Oh, very patient.
Like this is a long thing. This isn't like, 2 DMs and then come out with me. It's like, they're patient.
Yeah,
I want everyone listening to understand that, because I'll hear like, well, I've been talking to this person for a while, or I've known that person. That's like, yeah, these guys are patient.
The more sophisticated the potential victim, the longer the grooming process.
Okay.
Isn't that great, you guys? Very sophisticated grooming processes are what run with a ton of patience by these hotel executives. Don't think that Debbie Cook was a raving, raging maniac on day one that you arrived at her hotels. Don't think that for a second, you guys. Debbie Cook was all, Little Miss Sunshine, as you see her in all of those interviews. Oh, but we really wanted to do everything great. And, I was put in a trash can at one point and it really did suck. And I really was upset. And, it really, really tore me apart. So patience is exactly what all of these executives had, as they were literally putting their fangs on our necks. It took years for Valerie Light to arrive to work next to Shelly and Dave in RTC. She wasn't just brought up there all the way to the top on day one to oversee all of that dysfunction. No, she had to wait. She had to prove herself. They had to really check. Can we really do this? Can we really do that? Can we get away with this? Does she meet the qualifications? Can she really act depraved on command? They're always testing these people. Are you going to be ruthless with the kids or not? If you're not ruthless, then you are not qualified to do that job. So yes, as Marisol Nichols goes very surprised that a lot of patience is given, she fails to see that, in her hotel, people could not be more patient until they're not patient, until they know they have their fangs on you, until they know they got you so dead bondage that you cannot go anywhere because you already owe them over $100,000 in courses that they're having you sign invoices for. So let's not pretend that Marisol Nichols has no clue that a lot of patience is needed for these people.
The less sophisticated and the more compromisable they are, the shorter the process. So that's the way it goes. And so then they...
See, you guys, Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine, no patience. Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine grab a girl, do a massage, abuse her. Who in the hell cares? Debbie Cook and her gang in Clearwater, very patient. Oh, let's do a little course here. Oh, go over here and let's check this other stuff. Oh, who's your dad? Oh, who's your mom? Oh, who's your aunt? Oh, who's your uncle? Oh, who's your cousin? Oh, who's everyone inside your family? And where do they work? And how many years have they worked there? And any 3-letter agencies in your family tree anywhere? 3-4 years. Some kids were not recruited. They were just on lines, being watched, being observed by Debbie Cook and the rest of her clown vampires. So it took a ton of patience for these people, because they wouldn't come in until they were sure no one was going to miss that child, until they were sure that no one was going to end up at the police department. And sophisticated AF they were. They weren't like Jeffrey and Ghislaine Maxwell, just grab a kid, put him over there, no one's going to even care. Like, they were not sophisticated. They were careless AF, but these other ones were so careful, dotting their I's, crossing their T's. We wouldn't want to make L. Ron Hubbard become pissed off at us. We wouldn't want to fuck this up for L. Ron Hubbard. Is how these people really thought. Oh my God, if we make a mistake, L. Ron Hubbard could lose his technology. Everyone would really find out the fraud. I mean, imagine protecting someone that you were in on the fraud with.
Then they go and like, let's go to Vegas again, a second trip. And then they're like, okay, well, here's what's going to happen. Now they've isolated you from your family or your support structure.
Right.
And they've insulated you from your network, so to speak. Like I could call you, Marisol, hey, tell me about a podcast. In fact, I did that one day and we talked briefly about it, right? And because I had resources, but a trafficker is going to isolate the victim from those resources.
So thank you, Lieutenant Mark Evans, because yet again, we wouldn't know the type of chummy relationship you and Marisol have going on. You're probably on some group text as well. I mean, you guys, oh, let me just call up Marisol. Hey, Marisol, it's Lieutenant Mark Evans from the LAPD. I was just, riding around in my car, bored AF, because there's no trafficking to solve. And how's it going on your podcast? How's that going? Any chance I could appear and pitch my book, Selling the Daughters of America? Any chance you could hook it up? Oh, you could? That is so nice of you, Marisol. That is so nice. I really look forward. Yeah, let me figure out my schedule, a day that I can really come dressed in my uniform, because, I represent the LAPD. All my statements being done on the public record represent leadership at the LAPD, and the leadership at the LAPD is going to be so excited when they see one of their top lieutenant commanders speaking to, you, a Hollywood actress that we really all do worship at the LAPD, because, we do all know you since you were doing a ton of research in our cop cars. I mean, you guys, please, LA leadership, please advise. Start making some sense of your top leadership lieutenant commander that we have right here, talking about him calling Marisol whenever he feels like it.
Resources. So they're stuck. They don't have anywhere to go. They don't have anyone to call. That's why they move them from place to place so often. Vegas to Oklahoma to Seattle to, Oakland to LA and so on.
So go back to explain. Thank you for all.
Okay, you guys, and there you go. Full evidence that the top brass of the LAPD knows very, very well that they isolate you. They cut off all your communications. They don't let you know anything that's going on. And that they also move you across state lines. Well, Marisol Nichols Hotels specializes, you guys, and just Google this for yourself. Anyone that's not familiar, federal child trafficking lawsuit, Tampa Bay federal child trafficking lawsuit. Because guess where else these kids get sent? Across international borders. So perhaps that is so above Lieutenant Mark Evans' pay grade that maybe that's what's compromising his critical thinking skills, you guys, because, you know, he's only paid to enforce the law in LA. His jurisdiction is this small. Never mind, it's the biggest city in the whole United States. But, you know, once people start getting trafficked into other countries, including but not limited to Australia, then, oh my God, sucks to be those kids being trafficked outside into international waters. Sucks to be those kids that are being shipped off to a floating cathedral, a so-called floating cathedral, guys. That's what the lawyers of Scientology went with when referring to that disgusting cruise ship that they run for themselves. So, yeah.
All that. Can you explain? So now they're going to take into Vegas a second time.
So what
Then
will
what?
happen?
Yeah.
So they get to Vegas and they'll say, okay, well, this is what you're going to do. You're going to go, you're going to work, and you're going to make some money for us. And you're going to do it by committing acts of prostitution. And like, I don't want to do that. Like, okay, well, if you don't do that, then you're going to be subjected to some type of punishment. For whatever reason, in this crime world, the world of human trafficking, they utilize force, fraud, coercion. Those are the elements.
They utilize force, fraud, and coercion, says whoever is producing this podcast for Ms. Nichols, to subject victims to engage in commercial or forced labor. Well, Lieutenant Mark Evans, they made us auditors. And then they told us, go make us that money. Go deliver 12.5 hours of audits to that patron that expects to get serviced. So write that on your notes as well, because the hotel adult patrons landing themselves at Debbie Cook's for Harrison Hotel came to get serviced. They paid to get serviced. Repeat, serviced is what they called it. And then we were supposed to find out all their deepest sexual perversions, because these adults really did think that us teenagers that we were could not have been more qualified to literally waste our entire formative years listening to the most disgusting, deranged self-admissions of literal perverts from hell who got off on getting off. Get it? Have you ever committed a felony against a child? Oh, yes. Last week I committed a felony against my son because I violated him. Great. When was it? Where was it? How did you do it? What type of felony was this? How long did you take? How far did you take it? So if we refused to do one of these interrogations for Debbie Cook or any of her other clown so-called deputies, so-called executive deputies, delegated to enforce Debbie Cook's whims, we were also punished. What? You're refusing to service that public? Go wash dishes. You're going to be off post now. You're going to get interrogated. So the crime could not be more familiar to the LAPD, you guys. And unfortunately, the crime is so unfamiliar to them. In this year 2023, they're still pitching themselves as they have not a shred of a clue what in the hell we are talking about.
Of the crime. And for some reason, sexual assaults is extremely common punishment for victims. So I had a particular case where a girl was not cooperating with the suspect, the trafficker.
Right.
And he whipped her with the electrical cord, beat her, raped her, sodomized her, and threw her in a room. And then this happened multiple days in a row until she finally said, just stop hurting me.
Right.
And she complied with what he wanted to do. So
Okay, you guys, so let's give you the exact specifics of what Debbie Cook was into, her and the rest of her executives. So when a kid did say no, they would lock them up. They would strap them to a machine where they couldn't move their hands whatsoever, where they were being video recorded and surveilled inside that room, where they're being interrogated ad nauseum, nonstop, literally intellectually raping them. Have you done something sexually perverted? Have you done something that you don't want us to know about? Have you done something you feel could get you into ethics trouble? Tell us what you did that you could really fear could get you into ethics trouble. Oh, so you masturbated? So how did you masturbate? Where did you masturbate? How many times did you masturbate? What did you think of when you were masturbating? Is what Debbie Cook and the rest of her unhinged, the range executives would be asking kids, barraging them with inappropriate, disgusting questions. So, yeah, they weren't put on an assist table and sodomized. You know, perhaps because that would leave a mark, that would leave a trace. But you know what didn't leave a trace? Being locked up in those rooms with these people, having their way with you, to have you change your mind and all of a sudden say, oh, no, never mind. I will go audit. I really want to get my ethics in. I really want to be part of this group again. Never mind. I'm just completely floating. My head is floating. Everything is floating. I'm so gung-ho. I really want to go back to my post. I really want to do what in the hell you're forcing me to do. I really want to do that for myself. So it's not like they don't do that to the kids inside those rooms. So again, the LAPD is just playing dumb, pretending they have not a clue how the business model works. Not a clue, apparently.
But then this is super common. And I hope every listener listens to this one thing. Because the average person will say, well, why doesn't the person just run away?
Right.
Okay. Traffickers, they put tracking devices on your phone. Oftentimes they're hardcore gang members. I used to work gangs many years ago. I chased the gangsters. I kicked down the doors. I arrested bad guys. The human trafficking world is by far more dangerous than the gang world ever was in my day. And these gang members are now human traffickers, and they're threatening the victims. Like, hey, if you don't do this, I'm going to kill you. I'm going to kill your family. I'm going to kidnap somebody, all kinds of threats. The point that needs to be known and understood is that the threats from these gang members is perceived as extremely credible.
Right.
Okay. So to drive this point home, I have undercover officers who go out and they're working and they're in contact with human traffickers, and these guys are pulling out guns. I've had undercover officers who have been threatened to be murdered, kill their families. I've had protective details on their families while the employee's working,
right,
protecting their family at home. They couldn't go to court by themselves. I had to worry about them leaving court and getting harmed. So the credibility of these threats is astronomical. And the victims who have been around these traffickers, they've seen the criminal behavior that
right,
wasn't directed at them, but they know that this person's violent and they can very well follow through with the threats that they have told me.
right.
So imagine the LAPD, you guys, pitching y'all on the definition of fair game. Imagine that. Imagine that the LAPD is well aware of all the retaliatory measures the gang of Marisol Nichols takes on kids, on anyone who says anything about what in the hell they're doing inside those hotels. And the LAPD, as aware as they are about how this crime takes place, they still refuse to acknowledge it. They still choose to play dumb instead, because you know what? If they play dumb, money keeps flowing into the LAPD's pockets. And if they don't play dumb, money dries up. Oh, we cannot protect those buildings anymore where they were really abusing kids. It sucks to be us. We're not going to get that overtime that we really want to get, because, you know, the people here in LA don't subsidize enough what we're doing. And, you know, we would really like to have some extra luxury in our lives. But if we don't have this private stuff anymore from Hollywood and Scientology, since Hollywood also all about hiring the cops, you guys, chummy, being best buddies, call you up when I have a role, call you up when I have a script that you can really consult on. Oh, we'll give you a producer's credit so you can go tell all your buddies, oh my God, you guys, you'll never find out what I have, a producer's credit in a movie. So all manner of corrupt incentives between the three amigos, Hollywood, LAPD, and Scientology.
So that's how you compel somebody to keep sticking around and not run away. Because if you run away, they're going to come find you and they're going to kill you or whatever
Right.
the threat may be. And so that's one of the reasons why people just don't run away.
Right.
And the sooner people, the listeners,
one of the reasons we couldn't run away, Lieutenant Mark Evans, is because they had our passports. Another reason, Lieutenant Mark Evans, that we couldn't run away is because we were told by our parents that if we did run away, they were going to disconnect from us. That they were going to fair game us, that they were going to make our lives miserable AF if we ever dare to criticize their depravities, their disgusting derangement, their lawlessness, their reckless lawlessness. So those are other reasons why we couldn't run away from being abused.
understand, like, just because you see something, for example, you see a girl standing on the corner and she's
Right.
dressed seductively and she's obviously involved in prostitution. She's wearing a low cut dress, very short skirt, waving at cars, getting in cars, getting out of cars, all the things that would be signs that are indicative of prostitution activity.
Right.
And it seems like the onlooker, well, she must be wanting to do this. No one's there forcing her to do it.
Right.
But I know that in the shadows, off to the side, we have human traffickers that are watching them. They're texting them. They're telling them what they need to do. And if they're not doing it, they're going to get punished. They have a quota.
You had us at quota, Lieutenant Mark Evans, because while we were not being dressed seductively, we were dressed in clown military uniforms. The people that came to get serviced, the adults that really thought, what a great idea. How special am I to go get serviced inside a hotel by a minor that really wants to do it? A minor that really loves being part of these hotels because they did take it upon themselves to sign binding contracts at age, including but not limited to 12 years old, 11 years old, 13 years old, 14 years old, 15, 16, whatever. Just at that tender age, they did sign a contract and they did want to be inside of those hotels. So what's the big deal? Right? I mean, I'm sure that's what Ashton Kutcher tells himself, you guys. Yeah, but the people at Danny's hotel were not trafficked. They were all wanting to be there. That was their thing. They really, really loved it. Never mind that we had a shadow of people behind us, threatening us, punishing us, telling us, what in the hell are you not producing money for us this week? We told you you have a quota of $100,000. Why haven't you made it? Oh yeah, you made it last week and you think we care that you made $100,000 for us last week? Do it this week. Last week is over. Last week is done. Those are statistics of the past, is what Debbie Cook's unhinged executives like Janet Herring would be telling us. Y'all have to get your value of services delivered up. You're not delivering enough services. So, value of services delivered. Lieutenant Mark Evans asked Marisol Nichols what these three words mean. Because believe you me, there's very real money exchanged behind these three letters. And the people in the shadows holding guns to those kids' heads, invisible guns. I mean, never mind that they do have security that has all manner of actual guns. That, you know, security did teach us, oh, you look, guys, we have all these things to protect you. Never mind that those security guards are part of the enforcement of the traffickers. So we're going to be posting more of those videos, you guys, where you can see how these security officers are really securing something. Because the trafficking could not be more obvious, but everyone plays dumb.
And they need to make $500 or $1,000 a day, or they're going to get sexually abused, beaten, or whatever, a host of other violent crimes.
Right.
And they'll tell them, you better follow what I'm telling you to do, or you'll get more of this.
Right.
And you have.
Please, $500 a day? Are you kidding me? That's pathetic, Lieutenant Mark Evans. The quotas that Debbie Cook set for us were in the 100K. So let's just start by that. Make us $100,000 this week. What does that mean? Complete, 20 people on their courses. Because with 20 people completing a course inside a hotel, these people magically just manifested 100K. So $500, that's pathetic. Nobody in those hotels gives a shred of an F about $500. Believe you me, $500 is chump change. So apparently, if your traffickers demand of you 100K, then you're not part of trafficking anymore. Apparently, only if they demand measly $500 out of you, then it really counts. But if, that is, 100x, then it doesn't count because now you're part of something very legit, very normal, very American, couldn't be more legal.
No support structure to run to.
Right.
So that's why these people just don't run away. There's a little more to it, some psychological manipulation behind the scenes that keep people there.
First of all, thank you so much for saying that, because it's something that I really wanted to get across to listeners, that even though something looks like it's perfectly fine, you don't see the guy around the corner in the car. I've been on those ride-alongs with you. We've seen the guy around the corner in the car watching the girls that he's running. And it's not what people normally think about. They're like, well, that's prostitution, or that's this. It's like, well,
I mean, you guys, as if we didn't have to get pitched by Marisol Nichols, how deeply entrenched and involved she's with the LAPD. I've been with you in the car. So Marisol Nichols is inside the car. How many times did she go on little joy rides with the LAPD, Ms. Nichols? How many times? Because you know what? Internal affairs of the LAPD that cannot investigate a shred of anything, that cannot find any type of corruption in their departments, even if they literally go and get themselves a microphone and tell everyone what in the hell they're doing. Apparently, that still doesn't raise any red flags for any checks or balances of corruption by these American institutions that really do purport they have the power to enforce the law. Never mind that that law is toothless AF. Unless you're a very poor person trafficking people, then you will see consequences. But then if you're very rich, nope, then that doesn't apply to you.
Hold on. So thank you for making that point. And the other point that you made that I also want to sort of like drive home is you said, like, you know, they'll take the girl to Vegas or whatever. The girls earn their trust. They've been out with the guy a couple times now. Yeah. As soon as they get them to Vegas and traffic them to another state or another area, they don't know anyone there.
Right.
The only person they know is that guy who's running them. And the only thing that they do know is that if they don't obey, it's like you said, punishment.
Yeah. Well, that's
physical pain.
It's coming for sure.
Yeah.
Well, where did you think those kids ended up in that floating ship cathedral? Knowing a lot of people, Marisol, where do you think that kids that were shipped out of Florida to go be in California away from every single last loved one they had ended up with what? A lot of people that they knew? Pathetically enough, you guys, very, very, very pathetically, as kids, we thought, oh, but we have so many people here in the hotel. We really know each other. There was no stranger danger. We were stuck inside these hotels with these disgusting, depraved clowns 24/7. We couldn't have been more used to the abuse if we weren't stuck inside the hotels 24/7, not understanding what in the hell they were doing to us. So let's just start with that fact right there, because Ms. Nichols could not be more playing dumb if she wasn't getting paid the millions to play Dumb and Dumber.
I had one particular case where a girl was held in an apartment, and her trafficker said, okay, you need to go, and you know, all of this, not all of human trafficking is sex related, because we have labor trafficking and other things. But what seems to be so prevalent in the world I work in is sex trafficking is what we deal with predominantly. And so this guy, he has the girl, he has her held hostage in his apartment, and she has a little child. She's like, I can't do this because my child's here. He's like, don't worry about it. I have your child. And he put the child in a room and locked the child in the door in the room. And then, and once she committed her acts of prostitution and came and gave him the money, then she would have access to the child. So there's a whole element of that where there's manipulation of, you know, I'm going to withhold this from you, another human being that you produced,
right,
and you love, and they're going to hold that over your head until you comply with what the trafficker's demand is.
Okay.
So guess what these executives were all about doing in those hotels as well, you guys? Do you really want to go see your child this week? Do you really want to have a little time with your child? Will make that money. Otherwise, you will not see your child. Make that money or you will be sent to ethics and prohibited from seeing your child. That's how Sea Org mothers were treated. I mean, again, you guys, never mind that the mothers are also trafficked. The mothers are also foreigners. Now, some of us that were the kids of those mothers see our mothers as our traffickers too, because it wasn't like our mothers didn't go there willingly and pitched it as amazing and still are nowhere to be found to take back anything they did. They still want to pitch this as an amazing experience that we were so lucky to have for ourselves. But the chain and triangle and pyramid of abuse is absolutely the same. So, I mean, this is going to take us a while to get through all of this, you guys. I'm just going to quickly go through your questions because we've already been here for a while and this thing just goes on and on and on. So we might have to revisit it. So let's see if there's any questions that came up from y'all. Hello, Goldie. Hi, Gigi. Oh, that's so nice. Thank you, Gigi. Serge, you're so eloquent. The way you put together is enthralling. Thank you. Well, Gigi, that's nice of you to say that, because You know, I don't know how I'm putting anything since I had not a shred of education, but you know, all I can say is that we live that hell. And I mean, I'm only trying to like make it as clear as possible because, you know, we've been gaslit by all these people so badly on and on. And it's unfortunately up to us, the kids that were abused like that, to make the case for other kids that have not a shred of advocate for themselves, you know. So, but thank you for saying that. I really appreciate it. Hello, SPTV tapes. Hello, Peggy. How are you? Oh, Malines, my day has been good visiting a couple refugees, fun with language difficulties. It was going to drink coffee, but OC, I got a lot more. Well, that's nice that you're helping some refugees. They all need the help. They do really all need the help. Cornelius, the irony is killing me. I mean, seriously, what is going on, you guys? Hi, Gypsy. Hi, Peggy. Hi, Amy. I'm just going through these really, really fast, you guys. So don't feel if I skipped you. I didn't want to see you because there's just so many. So thank you. Mousy, I can't stand her surge. Same, Mousy. Well, we can't stand the hypocrisy. You know, we would love for Miss Nichols to be like, well, you know what? I really did have a big cognition. I just realized everything I was a part of was just absolute BS. So let me call my buddies at the LAPD and let me secure a deal for myself and, you know, sing like a little canary that I am and just tell them everything that's been going on, everything that I've been funding, all the money I've given to this. And maybe I can, you know, almost pitch the Hollywood Reporter to say I'm a whistleblower. Hi, Laura. Hi, Pamela. Hi, Willie. Max says, how are they this careless about their image? Even if they don't care about the issue or the issues around Scientology is plain put bad optics for them. That's right, Mac. And, you know, that's when the plot thickens, right? Because for so many years, you guys, I swear to you, I gave law enforcement the full blown benefit of the doubt. It's almost, what, 8 years since I left Scientology. And trust me, until maybe this last year did I start seeing all these things that don't add up, you know, because I had that very naive, gullible, infantile, you know, they just don't know any better. They just not really familiar with how things were being done in that hotel. But meanwhile, they're literally so familiar. I mean, having conversations with Marisol and telling us that they've done 4,000 investigations of this. And then you see him pitching the stuff and he's talking about what the hell they were doing to us in those hotels. So it's just the duplicity that doesn't make any sense. Here from Daria, it's bizarre he concludes on traffickers when there has been a well-documented history of police brutality, wrongful arrests using force, wrongful convictions due to the falsifying evidence and testimony. Yeah, I mean, absolutely. You know, there's corruption everywhere. And again, you guys, we're pointing out Lieutenant Commander Mark Evans' actions. I can't say he speaks for every last shred of cop. I would hope that there's ones there that do have a spine, that do know what the hell is up, that can connect the dot. Because seriously, if no one can connect a dot, then we're in trouble, guys. He is smitten with her now. Absolutely, Cornelius. Like, Miss Nichols plays the part real well, and these cops could not be more goo goo gaga for her. I mean, next time we'll bring a little cup to put underneath their mouth so that the saliva can just drip there. Amy, I'm gonna vomit. I know. It's sick, you guys. It's not fun. It's not cool. It's not great at all. Paris, hi Paris, how are you? Mark Bunker has tried to get the hacienda investigated for child trafficking, but Scientology was tipped off by CPS and police before the raid and removed the kids and bunk beds, etc. before they inspected. Hi Paris, yeah, thanks for making that point, because there's been plenty of times where these people were getting raided. Never mind that they're not close to getting raided today, right guys? Like today we don't hear that, but yeah, decades back, even when I was there, we would hear of like, I remember like one time people were showing up at the Quality Inn hotel to check on the kids, and they had all manner of safety guards when they would get tipped off about it so that they wouldn't get in trouble, which is, you know, how most of these traffickers operate, you guys, really. Malini's, when is the search app launch? Filter apps AF Media. Filter BS AF Media. Oh, well, thank you for the super chat, Malini's. I appreciate it. Well, you guys, I'm working on some stuff behind the scenes. As you know, I do art, and I've been working on an art project that I'll be showing and sharing with you guys. And I feel like that's the best way for me to share with you guys, and to, you know, I really feel that art is the only thing that actually creates an impact and makes changes in humanity. Not my art, I'm just talking about like literally all art is the way that humans learn. So we'll have some stuff like that on the horizon soon, you guys. And we're going to be doing some art shows as well coming up. So I will definitely keep you posted, because I'm doing a lot of that whenever I'm not here with you guys. So it's all coming up. So thank you so much for the super chat. That's so nice. Daria Search, can you do a collection in your art and turn all these people into like cartoons? Well, thank you, Daria. Well, I have something in the works, and I can't really wait to actually share it with you guys. It's like I'm dying. I'm like one of those people that always wants to show, but I have to wait because it's not done yet. Hi, Rachel. I'm late. You're not late. No one's ever late, you guys. You know, in those hotels, we were really like always checking time. Hi, Pam. How are you? Witness. Hello, Witness. And then it said, you can never watch these alone. It's not healthy. Exactly, you guys. We have to protect our peace. And definitely y'all paying attention to this and us connecting these dots together helps so much. So I really appreciate all of you who, you know, give time to this issue and really care about it, because, you know, I know that we are a small minority right now, but, you know, we only got started 2.5 young months ago. So we're still literally babies, you guys. We were literally just conceived 2 months ago. So we're still in the womb as we speak, but we're growing really quickly. So Amy, I'm a self-designated mandated reporter. I can't stay in my lane when it comes to certain matters, including but not limited to crimes committed against children. The mama bear in me comes out big. Thank you, Amy. Yeah, we need the mandated reporters to do their jobs, the ones that are, you know, getting access to these kids, right, guys? And again, it's a matter of really increasing public understanding of what's going on, right? Like, we can't expect anyone to be able to do anything inside those hotels when the media waters everything down. There are no investigations conducted. No one can talk about what happens in those hotels if they didn't have a front row seat there, right? And that's what we're calling on this corporate media. Where's their skin in the game, you guys? Why are they only into sweeping in and cashing quick checks for themselves? Like, where's the quick money? Okay, that story. Okay, put it out. They don't dig into anything. They don't do their own research. They don't go inside the hotels. They don't really understand what in the hell is going on, but they do make quick checks by regurgitating things that they get told about what is going on. And that's why we could not be more nauseated with the where we are. Okay, you guys. Well, thank you for all your comments, and thank you for sticking through this other chapter of us digging into the weeds and really letting all of these people at the LAPD, hopefully our videos will reach them one of these days, right? So we'll get more likes. I mean, I always hate to ask you guys to like and subscribe and all that, but do like and subscribe and, you know, put that notification bell and all of that, because the bigger we become, the bigger the problem we become for these people. The more people that are advocating for those kids, the harder it is for LAPD leadership, including Mr. Mark Evans, that has kids of his own, that understands the trafficking crime so well, like the back of his hand. So maybe he'll have a cognition and be like, oh man, Marisol Nichols, really? She was keeping all this information for me. She was pretending to be my friend. She was pretending to really like me, and she didn't give a shred of an F about me. Because I think, you know, in conclusion, that's what we're getting. You know, the people of Scientology are vampires, and Miss Nichols is a literal honeypot that was put there in that police place to, you know, shred careers. So all of Mr. Mark Evans' good deeds are now put into question, because why is he talking to a woman like that, and where are his critical thinking skills? I mean, I couldn't imagine being in his shoes and being humiliated by a kid that grew up in Scientology on YouTube, that didn't even go to school or even completed high school, you guys. I mean, literally, like, who am I to be making these points? And who are we to be making these points? Well, for starters, we are people that care about kids still stuck in those hotels. And it seems like the problem of those hotels and kids is not on anyone's radar or priority. But that is changing. As of this year, 2023, with all of you showing up, we are going to make this the top priority of the LAPD. And if the truth kills them, then let them die. And let the real people that really want to do the job come forward and do it. Enforce the laws that are written in the books already. Okay, guys. Well, thank you so much for joining me. And I will see you all extremely soon. And before we go, yeah, we're going to be having more interviews. We're going to be talking to more kids that are coming forward. So definitely stick around for that. Watch out for that. Is coming up. I'm talking to several of them, especially foreign minors that have been reaching. So we're going to have their stories soon, and they're excited to share everything with everyone in this community, because y'all rock. So I'll see you guys soon. Bye.